My name is Joe, but I don't really matter for this workshop and Q&A today. Other than I'm the design advocate here at Lyssna. I've got a background as senior product designer, researcher, and educator. I've worked on a whole bunch of different projects and might, as we're talking through stuff, bring some examples or some chime in with a couple things. But for the most part, my role here today is to let Odette shine, answer your questions, and talk about something, as I said, she's extremely knowledgeable and experienced about, which is all of the intricacies and challenges and how to get over them in terms of synthesizing research and bringing it to life. This series, our Q&As are all about bringing practitioners in like Odette. So while I host a lot of workshops and other educational stuff for Lyssna, these Q&A series are really us finding people and connecting with people who are doing interesting work in product design, UX research, education, and bring them in to answer questions, but also to talk less about, theory concepts behind things, more about day-to-day work, team structure, career journeys, and lessons learned. We had Taylor from Ally Bank months ago, who shared a lot about her journey into UX research and her role, and also kind of the real stories, like I don't want to say like behind the scenes stuff, but the stuff that Odette's working on that our other guests are picking up and opening up on their screen every morning and solving or finding a way to do better. So bringing all of that in today, Odette is a perfect guest for all three of these regarding synthesis and all the collaboration around it. So we're going to get into some questions. We've got a couple prepared questions for Odette to talk about some of her work and scenarios. And then we're going to go to a live Q&A where you guys will be able to put some questions in the chat. We're going to do that at the end, so we'll make some time for Odette to answer your questions. But if you have a question that comes up, put it in the chat. I'll move them over to the Q&A tab. And by the time we get to that, we'll have a nice, hopefully, list of questions to go through. So if anything comes up, drop it in the chat, and we'll get to those after these next couple of questions that we're about to do. All right. That's my spiel. Important part, meeting our guest. Odette, welcome. Odette, would you like to do the honors and introduce yourself?
I mean, you've already sold me quite well. Yeah, hi, everyone. Nice to be here. My name's Odette. As it says here as well, I've been in UX for 14, 15 years now. I currently work as a UX manager at a bank where I manage the research team, obviously, but also content and sales design. And next to that, I am one of the founders of UXR Study, which is a learning platform for UX researchers. That also. I have a cat, 2 dogs. They're great. And from the Netherlands.
Yeah, where's everyone checking in from today? Odette is joining in the evening.
Near Amsterdam.
I am, it's 2:00 here, mid-afternoon, perfect. Perfect timing for me, which isn't working for an Australian company, doesn't happen often, but it is for me. So everyone's nice. Awesome, Odette. Well, we're obviously going to get into more of your deep dive into what you're working on in your roles.
I didn't want to spoil too much right now.
Let's get into it. Let's go to the questions here. The big one.
Yes.
Tell us a little about your background journey, what led you into UX research, and what you're doing now, both in your role and with UXR Study.
Yeah. So once upon a time, when I was a little girl, I used to play a lot of video games and make outfits for my sister's Barbies. And I used to draw comics and game characters because, love video games. And through that, I thought I want to do something with design. I had no clue what, but something with design, something creative. And I'm not going to go through all of the history of that, but basically did a study in communication and multimedia design. And that's where I first got into UX, or first time I actually heard of it. And I specialized in UX in games. Again, huge nerd. It had to be games. And afterwards, worked as a UX designer in games and quickly went, you know what? Nah, I don't want to work in games anymore. I just want to play them. And I switched to product really quickly. Stayed a designer for a while. I think 4-ish years. Worked at an agency, then went to in-house because I wanted to experience that as well. And then I got in touch with the marketing department. I worked for a e-commerce fashion retailer, and they said they were going to do some tests on some designs we made for the website. And I was curious. I wanted to see what that meant. Because while I was studying, there was just the role of UX designer. You did a bit of usability testing, it was the whole shebang of UX was on your plate. And then here they were like, oh, we're testing stuff with marketing, or we're just making the website. We're designing the website here, but marketing is actually testing stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I want to see. And they started doing these A/B tests that we collaborated on to see how we could convince people to buy other products when the product they wanted was sold out. And that to me was just so interesting. I stared at the screen to see the numbers change, basically, and to see which of the designs that we made actually was converting better. Went back to the design department. I was like, I am so done doing this. I don't want to sit here and just design the screens anymore. I want to do that. That's way more interesting. They didn't have a place there because it wasn't really something that they were building. So I went back to an agency again and started focusing more on research, more on testing. It was still very much evaluative, and I wanted to do more. So I went into education. Actually, I started teaching people about UX, both in games and in product, and also trying to bridge that gap a bit among also cultural communication trainings, professional development, that sort of stuff. And at the same time was doing research for the educational institution to figure out like how can we make sure that the students are more engaged or they feel more confident and stuff. And so this turned into more like generative research, more discovery research. And I was like, this is interesting. Did a master's at the same time, which focused a lot on design research and actual more the human part of the research, and not just the usability testing or not just like evaluating if the design works, but actually figuring out like how do people work and how do we bring that with us when we design solutions. And so after I finished my master's degree, I felt like I was ready to go back into UX again, like an actual dedicated UX company. And I got hired to lead the research. Well, I was going to say team, but there was nothing. Basically, build the research team at a company, healthcare SaaS. They did in Finland, and basically built the research department there, which was a lot of ops, hiring, synthesis, lots of problems with very low UX maturity, which was super interesting. And then after that, doing that for almost 2 years, moved to ING, the bank, and I've been there now for a little over a year, and basically got hired for a similar challenge, fixed the research department, and the content team was having similar problems as the research team. So I was like, hey, do that too. So now I'm fully on fixing UX maturity within research, within UX. And now I'm here today.
There's a common theme there. A team needs help, needs saving, and
I like fixing things.
I can tell. And you said what every single guest has, the word that every guest has said in every Q&A multiple times, which is curious about XYZ in your journey. Curiosity. Awesome. Thank you, Odette. So let's take a look at, get my slides up here. So I want to talk a little bit about what's up with my slides. There we go. So this was the post that kind of connected us because Diane from Lyssna, who I work with, came across this post, sent it over to me, and then that got the ball rolling on us linking up and running this Q&A today. This post is about something that probably I've definitely experienced, probably many of you have here, which is the research gets done, the work happens, the findings surface, and a researcher puts those findings together or presents them in some way, and nothing happens. Going back to our poll at the beginning of this, all the challenges involved in that, I'm sure you've seen different causes of it, but it happens all the time. We see it over and over again, where all this work that is gold in terms of improving a product and an experience gets put together and doesn't go anywhere. So I want you to talk a little bit, if you could, about, let me get my link over here, about some of the workshops and facilitation that you do, maybe starting with this question: what happens? Why don't these research is, and then we'll get into maybe some of the things that you're doing to change that.
I know you sent the questions beforehand, and I was already laughing before, so it almost feels like a weird secondary laugh that I'm having at this question, because there's so many reasons why reports don't get read. Like they're too long, they're too academic, they're too vague, they're not actually connected to the question that was asked that led to the research being done. I think depending also on the researchers, I love writing reports, but there's many researchers that I know that absolutely detest it, which means in the beginning maybe it's good, and then as they progress through the report, the quality goes down, and so you're also not delivering the right thing. So there's many. No, it's totally fine. There's many different reasons. I think the main one for me, what I see the most, is the disconnect between how research communicates and how the business wants to receive information. So I need an answer to my question, and you're not giving me the answer. And I also don't want to spend 5 hours trying to find it.
Yes, that's been a big one. I also think what you said is an important one that I didn't think about, which is the researcher's desire or ability, let's say, to like create those reports and how far they want to go.
It's the expectation, right?
Yes.
Just like, you do the interviews, you talk, you analyze, you put the data together, and then you write a report. That's the process you go through. But just because that's the process, that is the original process, it doesn't mean that that works for everyone as well, which is why you get reports that aren't good either.
Yeah. So everyone who's watching, if you chime in the chat, just to bring it back to your own work, have you had this experience? If you want to share what you think is kind of the cause or the challenges, please share those in the chat. But even just to start, let me know, who here has experienced this, where whether you're a researcher or a busy designer who's doing some resourceful testing and research, have you had this experience where you do the research, you come back with findings that are going to lead to hopefully good design decisions, present them, send them to someone, share them with your team, and nothing happens from there? I'll raise my hand because that has happened plenty of times to me, even as I've really worked to improve my skills of presenting them and being able to, distill it down and speak in the language of stakeholders or the people that to business partners. So let me know in the chat if this is something that you've experienced, and if you have a reason for it. I think obviously, as you said, Odette, there's so many different. It depends, right? Our favorite answer, but I think for me the main thing, or the overarching challenge of it, is that research and the findings that you come back with are they're nuanced, they're complex, it's not a straightforward answer. And a lot of the times you're under the pressure to deliver a straightforward answer. Are we going to use homepage A or homepage B? Are we going to build this feature next or that feature next? Just tell me, if I'm the
Yeah,
stakeholder.
just tell me what it
What
is.
do I
Yeah.
do? Answer my question
Yeah.
so we can build this
Yes.
feature and
Help me move forward.
yeah. Help us move forward. Okay, so that's a perfect segue into the next question on how you actually do that. You run synthesis workshops that are focused on this exact challenge of being able to take that information and not just like synthesize it and find the themes, but to bring it to action with and collaborate with all the different people in the organization. So tell me a little bit about the workshops that you run and yeah, kind of what experience you want to create for the participants and even who are the participants, I guess, adding that in as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's make it 3 questions. Um, so I have a bit of a format that I use, but it's not really set in stone because I adapt it based on the people that are in my workshop or the people that I'm trying to get on board with the research through the workshop. It it depends. It also really depends on the UX maturity of the organization. It depends on the UX maturity of the people that you have. But I like the second part of the question the most because it is indeed about what the experience that you're trying to create. To me, the workshop is a product in itself, right? And so I look at it as in, okay, who is the user of my product? My stakeholders, who are they? And how do I make sure that the experience that they have leads to solving their problem, which is I need an answer to my question, I need to move forward. And so it's something that I say often to researchers, like your users, yes, are the people that use the product that you're doing research on, but your actual users are the stakeholders that need to work with what you've found. And that one is often forgotten. So that's why I wanted to highlight it here as well. Like it's those users that you need to understand and that you need to serve with your workshop. So yeah, so I look at, okay, what's the situation? What's the organization? I look at what's the project? Also, what's the prioritization of the project? Because I don't run synthesis workshops for everything. I run it for the high stakes one, the ones that are important, or the ones where I feel like the teams could use it to learn more about research or to get more involved in research. And it's to not go into too much detail because I'll be talking for 3 hours about this. It basically makes sure that the people that come from the different directions, so developers, business people, product owners, the designer, the researcher, that there's often a little bit of a clash between, yeah, but I do this, you do that, and give me the answer. But the whole point of doing this is that we're all going towards the same direction. So it starts a little bit with, okay, what's our goal here? What are we trying to get out of this? Why did we do this research? And it gives a little bit of an overview of the things that we found so far. So it's sort of like a little tease of information and making them curious, because it's very important to put yourself in that curious mindset to be able to do this properly. And so giving them a little bit of a hint of like, hey, we're finding things and today we're actually making it actionable. So at the end, you don't even have to read a report. At the end,
Yeah.
you know what you walk away after these, often they're like 2 hours.
Yep.
You walk away after 2 hours knowing exactly what to do next. We go through the data, which is, of course, pre-selected because I'm not bringing tons of raw data to a session like that. Most of the times I've already done like a pre-synthesis to make sure that I already know what the themes are. I already know what the categories are, so that I can help them get there as well. So we go through it, we have them discuss them together. What does it mean? What's being said here? And it's almost also a research exercise for myself to figure out like, okay, how do these stakeholders look at the data?
Yep.
What do they help? What do they find interesting? Because that also helps me change the workshop as we go. And afterwards, I let them I give them a moment to shine from their perspective. And so after we've sort of done the theming a bit and started discussing the possibilities, etc., I tell them to basically get in a lane. I love to do these physically because it's more interesting. I tell them to go in their lane and basically answer questions from their perspective. So I put product owners in the business lane. I put the researcher in the user lane. I put the designer in the design lane, basically. And it has a few pre-made questions, depending again on the project, the goals, the metrics, KPIs, whatever. And I have them answer those questions based on the findings that we've just found. Then they talk about that together. They see where the overlap is also, because the findings, they are always the same for everyone, just from a different perspective.
Yep.
And so the goal there is to connect them to each other, to also show like, oh, hey, we're all working towards the same thing. We're all talking about the same thing, even though we're talking about it differently. We then go into a sort of prioritization exercise to figure out like, okay, what is the impact of this finding, and what does it mean moving forward, which then goes into, depending on, again, the type of stakeholders I have, it might go into more like, okay, we're having these findings, what can we actually do with it? And we go a bit more solution-based to make it more actionable, or we go into a impact analysis, basically, of the findings. So it depends a little bit on where the project is. And then at the end, there's a very clear list, top 3, top 5 of like critical things that they need to start with the next minute, basically.
Awesome. So kind of a follow-up question for that. And I've done a lot of sessions like that with clients that I've worked with, probably not as, a lot of them not in person, but some, and not as, structured and refined as yours, but a similar idea. And what I've found is, and you kind of said this, but just the fact that you're doing it together, right, is like a huge hurdle. It's not something being delivered to you from another department that you don't have the context in and then have to weigh in on. I found that just sets the tone, like changes how you're thinking about it, and gets everyone on board of like kind of out of the who's right, who's wrong, who's
This
got the
is mine and that's yours. No, you're
yeah,
responsible for this. No, we're all doing this together. Yeah.
totally. And so for everyone here, I don't know if you not to put you on the spot, but do you have any tips, like if someone is, for a researcher or designer who's joining us right now, if they're not facilitating a full workshop or running doing this in the as structured way, maybe some like, are there some little ways or tips that kind of you've implemented that bring that feeling in of making it more of like a collaborative thing that people could put into place in their own work?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, because workshops in itself are, people find them scary to do. They're large,
Yeah.
they put you on the spot, like you have to have your stuff together, to, because you have to perform in that moment, and that is quite a big thing. And I've experienced with researchers I've hired as well that they're just not super comfortable doing it. But once they've experienced a few, they get it and they can do them on their own. But one of the things that I still do actually is, at the beginning of a project, I ask my stakeholders, how do you want to receive your answer? Because a lot of the times we default to reports because that's what we know. Well, we all know that they're not going to read them anyway. So, what's the best way for you to process new information? Is basically the question. Is that a PowerPoint? Do you want to sit down? Do you want me to walk you through it? Do you want a video? Do you want a podcast? Do you want a Q&A, for example, where we just sit and answer your questions? Because that already helps put your stakeholders in the mindset of, okay, it's tailored to me. They're actually here to give me the answers that I need. And that's actually a really small thing that you can start doing tomorrow.
Awesome. And it changes the tone. It's like, I'm going to tell you, oh wait, you're actually listening to me, and how, amazing. Thank you. So let's see. I'm going to go to, I'm going to come back. Oh, Can you give me a quick answer on this one? And then we have one last tip, and then we'll do some Q&A. So for everyone in the chat, if you have questions, drop them in now. I'll give you a couple minutes to do it after we answer these questions, but we'll keep going with these. And if I see some questions pop up, we'll move on to that. But yeah, let's keep going with these. So this is an important question. How do you get buy-in from all the busy people to actually show up and engage in something that's not their job or someone else's responsibility? How do you get them involved and doing it in the workshop, and I guess beyond that as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was at a conference last week, and it was also a question I got a lot because people were saying, "Yeah, but they just don't listen. They don't want to hear what I have to say," and it always makes me laugh a little bit because it's not that they don't want to hear what you have to say; they just don't want to hear how you say it.
Yes.
Right? It's those long reports, or it's the jargon, or it's too heavy on the findings and not actionable enough. And it's actually the buy-in you get from showing that what you're offering is valuable. And it's a bit chicken egg, right? How do I get to show if it's valuable if they're not listening to me? To me, the best thing to do is to find the people that do listen or are open to listening and get them on your team. So, not researchers, but people outside of research that will advocate for the value that you bring.
Yeah.
And if that means working on some smaller projects with people that are interested in it, then do that first, because that means that you build proof, you make impact that you can then start spreading. And most researchers I know hate to brag because, like, the facts, the findings, they speak for themselves. But in this day and age, even more so, you have to brag. You have to show that you are providing this value to your organization, to the product. I have made workshops in like smaller forums where I went like, oh, I can only do like 3 people, so it's a bit quick. Make it a bit exclusive. It's creating want, basically. Oh, like
Yeah.
I kind of want to attend that because I'm going to get the stuff that I need to move forward. And yeah, those I think are the things that help. But it's almost a bit political, where it's like, okay, but I need you to listen to me because I'm helping you make your product better. But you have to make them want it and understand it too.
It's a common theme with what you're saying is like, I mean, you said it, the workshops are like a product into themselves with users, and you have a deep understanding of like what they, stakeholder, whoever it is, like how they like to receive information, what they care about. I mean, I remember when my light bulb went off for this on a client project that I worked on, and I was trying to get some buy-in to do research on this test prep product. And I had video recordings. I just went out on my own and did some usability tests with no, sanction.
No
And
judging.
yeah. And I had videos of students that were basically trying to, let's say, like upgrade kind of. And there was friction within that, which was something I suspected was a problem. I clipped that into like 10-second videos, right? And the main person who was kind of the gatekeeper to that research and the founder of the product, I just showed him that like a few videos and just like, these are the people we're doing all this work to sell to, and they can't confidently pay for the product, right? And that's like really basic, but it's same idea as what you're saying. Is like, and it might seem a little scrappy, but it all comes
No, but
back to
that's the good thing, right? It's almost like
the
that coffee machine, like, oh, have you sseen this, by the way? Those 10 seconds, or when you're
yeah,
in a
yeah.
meeting with someone, you're like, oh, now that I've got you here, let me show you this real quick, to the right people. And it does feel a bit scrappy, or yeah, but it's what helps get you buy-in.
Show them the
Yeah.
value. Yeah. And the trade-off of not doing research or not, having a say in this, where it's like, hey, where that feature we're going to go work on for the next 2 months? Here's why you might want to come to my workshop. You want to learn why
Yeah,
you might want
let's
to
talk
not
about
want to
that.
build
Let's.
these.
I have some thoughts. Yeah.
You want to rethink that
I
one.
think that one is even harder, right? Because it's one thing to be like, okay, we're working on this feature. Let's test it. Let's see, how users work with it, if they can work with it, if they understand it. And then there's the part where they are super confident, and you have to tell them that they shouldn't be that confident. That's hard because you're basically telling them they're wrong, and no one ever wants to hear that they're wrong.
And they
And
won't be
so
proven
that's
wrong until months down the road if and when it's.
no, we're just going to build it. It's you've
They're just going to build it. Yeah.
five
Yeah.
five
Yeah.
usability tests. Yeah, whatever. We're,
Right.
we're in development already. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes.
True.
Yeah, that one is nice. If you have a good relation with the data analysts, you can actually show the data that look, it's not doing what you said it would. But the workshops also help there because you're never saying that they're wrong. You're letting them find out that they're wrong. And then when they've come up with the fact that they're wrong, you're not the boogeyman, and they
Yeah.
feel great because they have their ideas moving forward, even though you've like puppeteered a bit behind it.
Last one here before we get to some Q&A. For those who are here struggling to get their research insights acting upon, let's go top piece of advice to take away from this to change that.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the allies. Find the people that want to work with you to make impact slowly, to get buy-in slowly, because a lot of companies have one researcher and it feels like a really hard battle to fight on your own with multiple stakeholders that have very strong opinions about things, and there you are with your facts and your data.
Yeah. Your
It's
binder.
yeah, your binder, like, but guys, here's the truth.
Yeah.
I know what to do. And it's the strongest, the loudest voices. They're always the ones being heard. It's never the researchers for some reason. But there's always people within the organization that have more UX maturity or have more curiosity. And it's those people you need to sort of like sniff out and be like, hey, let's talk. And what can I do for you? And let's team up. Because then they start to basically evangelize research for you.
Yep.
And the value of it.
And overall starts to just like lower the whole temperature of our ideas versus theirs versus this department, where it starts to be like,
we're all working towards the same goal, right? You want more money. I want to provide a good user experience so that I get to keep my job. It's all the same.
Yeah. It's so obvious when we're talking about it like this, but then in the weeds, it's like, it doesn't feel that way sometimes. Awesome. So for everyone here, find the allies, the people who can get those little crumbs of interest in user research, what you're doing, things they should be looking at, the evidence you have that you might not want to spend 2 months on feature A. You might want to rethink that a little bit with Odette. Awesome. Thank you, Odette. So let's hear from you guys. If you have any questions for Odette on day-to-day stuff, synthesis, getting your research acted on, I don't know, anything about Odette's path. Yeah, drop it in the chat. I'll give everyone a couple minutes here, and we'll look through the Q&A. And then we'll just do a super quick wrap up. Thank you. I'll share some of Odette's links, and we'll let you guys get out of here to enjoy the rest of your day or evening. But take 2 minutes now, drop something in the chat, and those. Okay, so let's do. Okay, we got one from. Do you want to answer this Lane's question?
Yeah, sure. What are the types of questions you ask in each role's lanes in the workshop? Yeah, it's a good one, very specific. I don't have set questions because, again, it depends on the people that I have in my workshop. But um, what I try to look at is what I know about the project that's important. So, for example, for the business lane or the product owner, they have certain goals that they need to achieve with that product or with the feature that they're building. Right? There's certain KPIs or certain metrics, and so I try to have them focus on those metrics. So, say their goal is to increase conversion rate for a specific flow, and then I try to have them look at the insights that you've synthesized from that perspective. So, which of these are going to help you, do you think, to increase that conversion rate? And so it's that. So look at their goals, what they want to achieve, and then formulate those into questions that they can answer. Because that's also the point, is that they can answer the questions. And so, yeah, and for the research, I mean, you probably know what to fill in. It's what does this mean for the user? What's the impact on the user? What if we don't do this? What if we ignore this finding, for example?
Yep.
And for the designer as well, like what you could even reframe those into, like, how might we challenges? How might we insert insight? Um, or yeah, what does it mean if we ignore this from a design perspective or from a UX perspective? So it's really looking at their goals that they need to achieve and then turning those into questions.
Awesome. And I imagine that I love that aspect of like questions that they can answer confidently,
Yeah,
especially in a workshop that's about research. If they're not in that department, I imagine that really builds like the
but
productive
it makes people
collaboration.
feel competent as well, that
Yeah,
they indeed are also providing value in the workshop. It
right. They're
gives them
not just like
ownership
a
over. Yeah,
participant and just on the sidelines. That's awesome. Really,
yeah.
really good tip. I'm learning a lot right now. Eduardo's got as designers, how can we ensure that our research report have a real business impact? How do we keep track of the process? Let me put that one up on the screen so we can check it out.
Okay, so I might make some assumptions here based on how the question is written. So please type more if I'm not answering it fully. Um, the main thing to do is, when you start a research study, is to figure out why you're even doing this research study. It is, the questions are, what are you going to do with the findings that I'm going to give to you? What are these findings going to lead to? When are you going to use these findings? It's understanding the impact for you as a researcher when you are working on this project, but at the same time, making them accountable for providing you with the reasons for doing this research. Because it also means that when you write your report, you have information that you can use to sell your findings. Um, and the second question there was, how do we keep track of the process? Now, my question back is it the process of throughout the research process, or is it of the impact afterwards? I'm
Yeah,
just
trying
going
to
to
in the
wait
chat,
now.
Eduardo. Yeah, the answer that one too. Yeah, and the research reports having a real business impact. I like how you described that, Odette. Like, I think of it as like we have to be super aligned on. For the report never happens until we can never try to refit that into matching a business goal. Like, hey, we did this research, and hey, look how it could contribute to this. And a lot of times it seems, at least in my experience, that it seems like obvious maybe what the business goals or priorities are. But when you actually, if you don't talk about it and you're just like make assumptions, it's easy to get off track from where you're
Yeah.
showing a research report to a product manager and they're like, cool, yeah, this is semi-important, but it's not our priority. And that might, like, it's easy to stray from that. So I think that's a great answer for like really having that down from the beginning and being aligned of like, here's what's going to come, not the actual findings, but like, here's what we're trying to decide on based on
Yeah.
these findings, and here's how that is going to have an impact on this part of our business do you care about that? Yes, I care about it. Do you care about that? Right? You lock
Yeah, and it
something up.
always, because a lot of researchers, what they do is they ask like, "Oh, what are the research questions that you have?" And one, people that aren't researchers don't know how to make research questions, so you get really crappy stuff. And it's also all over the place
Yep.
because they will have proposition questions, they will have market research questions, they will have evaluative research questions, discovery questions, and you will not get any sense of direction from it.
Yep.
And so the other questions actually put you also in a bit more of a like owning it from a research perspective, because it's like, how am I actually going to help you achieve what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And then let me worry about what questions to ask.
How do we make money? All right, let's figure out what's stopping that or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are
Um,
you not? Yeah.
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 Awesome. Cool. Well, I know we're at time here, everybody. So I want to thank you guys for the
Oh,
great questions.
Eduardo had his question
Do we have
typed
another one?
out about the
Process
how to
afterwards?
keep
Yeah.
track
Do
of
you
the
want to
process.
take that
Yeah,
one?
I don't want to leave him hanging now.
No, we can't.
The process afterwards, how to manage to keep track of the process once you have delivered the research report. This is a really good question. If you have like project management tools that you use within the company, then use those, like embed it into the tools that the product owners, the product teams are using. If you don't, build your own impact tracker. Now, this sounds super complicated and intense. It's not. It's literally keeping track of what did I do, when, what were the results that I got, what was the metric that they were trying to influence, and then go back to the data analysts 3 months and 6 months later to see what did it change.
And I think the key there is keeping that simple. That's a great question, Eduardo. Like
Yeah.
keeping it simple, right? Where you can go back and be like, hey, how are we doing on this? We did it. Do we need to go? You don't have to have everything figured, all the next steps figured out from there. But as long as you're all aligned of like, let's go check back on this in, as you said, 3 months. And that date aspect and like putting it on the calendar, a place for it, doesn't have to be fancy, but that's an important point of having it there. To see like, is this moving, and then figuring out what happens next. Awesome. Thanks for the follow-up on that, Eduardo. Two great questions there. Two great answers, Odette. Let's wrap it up, everybody. First of all, I want to thank everyone who's still here for joining. More importantly, as importantly, I want to thank you, Odette, for spending some time here, sharing your expertise, and giving us me some new stuff to put into place as well when it comes to navigating, facilitating a big mess of research findings that it's our job to deal with. So thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome, and also thank you for having me.
I will share with everyone Odette's LinkedIn and uxrstudy.com, which I can just share the link to this in the chat right now. So you can connect with Odette. Odette posts a lot of good stuff on LinkedIn. Like I said, that's how we linked up in the first place. But a lot of great stuff on UXR Study to check out as well. So you'll all get the recording from this a couple minutes after we sign off. Some of you might be just watching the replay of this. But some other good follow-up material and ways to keep in touch or following Odette for other good stuff down the pipeline. I'll share one more link, and I'll just put a little button up for this one. For feedback on this Q&A, that's a quick 2-minute form. If you click that, leave feedback to just see how the experience was today. We do this for every workshop, Q&A. We want to hear what you liked, constructive criticism. More importantly, I want to hear if there are other topics that you want to learn about going forward. That's how we figure out what workshops we're going to do, figure out what guests we want to bring on, is by listening to you guys who actually take the time to be here and join these workshops. So if you have a second, fill that out and let us know. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again, Odette. I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did too. And like I said, the recording will be sent out to everyone who's here pretty shortly. So check that out and feel free to follow up with me if there's anything else. Anything else, Odette?
No, like I said, glad to have been here, and yeah, I hope it was helpful, and also for the people that are viewing the recording at a later time, happy to answer any questions later via LinkedIn still.
Awesome. I know it's late by you, Odette. Bedtime, dinner
I'm
time.
going to bed.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one, hopefully. Take it easy.